I'm really looking forward to this evening's Caddis hatch. I'm just hoping this wind drops though. I'm not too bothered because my big tapering usually brings him up.
Well, there's the odd Caddis flying about and lights going, so there is a possibility of a fish on the dry Caddis. So I've put a size 14 tapering on. They're not particularly big Caddis, see them coming off, or should I say dancing about over water. They're probably last night's a species of hydrocycid. I'm dragging a little bit. I just want to get it in that mainstream. And the places I'm going to try are behind the boulders and then up that run. I have seen one rise that looked a little bit on the splashy side, as though it could have been at a Caddis. I can see me fly very, very easily. It's CDC's holding it nicely off the water. And my lead is about 10 feet long, just over rod length. There's a few sort of pulley wheel currents there, so it's not particularly easy to get an entirely drag-free float all the way. Just travelling in front of the boulder. There's a bit of an upstream breeze blowing, which is a nice little assistance for people that have trouble straightening out the leader at the very end. So I can almost just stroke this across the water and out it goes. And what I shall look to do is to go into all those little bays over there. There's a fish rose. Wasn't a particularly what you might call a caddisy rise, but it rose. So it's not necessary to go over to the far side all the time. Try near fish first, particularly if you've seen a fish move. Now if this fails, and it's early days yet, I shall try the deer hair balloon caddis. But this is sitting okay. And I pick it off by kicking it, make me snap roll uphill, which brings virtually all the leader off, leaves the fly behind, and then I clean the fly off the water on the next forward stroke. And obviously if you've got a downstream bow and it's all travelling and it's not pulley wheeling, don't disturb it. As long as you can tighten into the fish. The main thing is you don't want the pulley wheel starting to tug your fly out fast. So provided it's all going along at the same speed, just let it sit there. You might just lift one out, lift it along. If you see a bow hanging back, lift it out to help it along. And there's no harm in letting your fly drift along below you.
But this wind's not helping the Caddis situation, I'm afraid.
Lift them little snakes out. You can do a lot of controlling at this front end. But to try to lift that out now, I would disturb me fly, so I'll just reach downstream and let that drift with it. One over to my own side now. It's drowning in there. There's a little bit of a backstopper behind that stone. and that's a definite fly drowner. Then lift it that way. So you have a bit of weaving in and out to do. And sometimes when you do a little bit of line control, you sometimes move the caddis a little bit, and that can sometimes be, when I say a bit, I mean you move it about half an inch, and that sometimes can provoke a real strike from a fish. And of course the strike can be anything from a great swirling slashy rise, which I don't particularly like, to a nice little head and tail tip up and suck in, which I do like. So all these little pockets are worth showing your fly into. You might only get a very, very short drift. You might get a bit of drift and a bit of skate. But in the case of a caddis, a bit of skate sometimes, it's about the only time really that a bit of skate works in your favour. And it's actually delightful fishing, is fishing a dry caddis, because it's beautiful pocket water picking. So you can drop your fly into all these little bays, and if it skates a little bit, that's no bad thing. It's about the only fly that you can get away with, particularly when they're really onto them. Fish just rose behind me, which I'll just drop the fly in, let it run down. Upstream breezes, a real nuisance. I see a fish, I see a fish. If you see a fish, it's worth pursuing, even if it means backtracking. Because if a fish has come on feed, whatever you do, don't pass it up. Not interested. Back to where we were. Okay. Well, they were only what we call oncers. There is the odd caddis about. So I've got to be ready for an attack, as it were. Well, that caddis couldn't be riding nicer. Perfect profile on the surface. But these 3 or 4 different speed braids are just awkward too, to get the drift going completely drag free. Just try over there. It's just a question of searching out. There's 1 or 2 fish have risen, but not all that many. Right, into the next one now. That's been thoroughly fished through. Yes. He took it just as I twitched it. I thought the caddis might work. Just over there, just where that stream's flowing at the back of that boulder. And I just moved it to mend, as I said to you earlier, come out from behind there. And he shot up and grabbed it. Typical wharf brownie. Nice little fish. I tell a lie, he's not a brownie at all. He's a little rainbow. Well, 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 where have you come from? Where have you come from, you rascal? Little 10-inch rainbow. Whoops. Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, 10-inch rainbow. Should not be in the river at all.